What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. It's a very busy episode. It was an active trade deadline. A lot of surprises, curveballs thrown in there. The Yankees also just lost a disappointing series to the Mariners with a extremely ugly start for Garrett Cole. We'll talk about all that. But Scott, really, the lead here is that after knowing each other for like 10 or 12 years and doing almost 700 episodes of a podcast over 8 years, we finally got around to playing a round of golf together.
Yeah, it was a miracle, right? We were both as bad as the other, which is I think to be expected. So it was a lot of fun, though. I'm glad we were able to get out there. I can tell you what was not a lot of fun is Garrett Cole's first inning, and my confidence in this man. I don't quite understand. I don't quite understand what his deal is, but the round of golf was fun. The round of golf was a lot of fun this morning.
It's also telling that I was pretty happy with my play and you were pretty disappointed with your play, and we played about the same. So that just goes to show you how much we each think of our own golf games. Yeah, man, Garrett Cole. You know what gets me is the complete dumbfounded look when he's giving up bomb after bomb, and just like he doesn't understand what's going on. And this has now happened, like it happened last time out against Kansas City, where it was just 5 straight batters. He couldn't get anyone out, and it culminated in the home run to Sal Perez. It's happened before. It happened with Minnesota when he gave up all those home runs. It happened in Detroit where he couldn't throw a freaking strike. It's like these moments of complete loss. And then he was fine after that. But it's like, you're Garrett Cole. You can't give up 6 runs in the first inning of a big rubber match against a number one pitcher who the Mariners just acquired. It just can't happen. It can't happen.
No, and you know what the other thing is too, kind of to the last point you just said, it was a matchup that a lot of people were looking at as well. They were looking at this matchup. Garrett Cole, Luis Castillo, could have had him, didn't have him. Garrett Cole's the ace, and he just puts up a complete egg from the get-go. And this is exactly what we had talked about. Like, we don't want to talk about, oh, well, he dominated for the rest of the time, but he had that one, massive hiccup that really did cost them the game, because that's exactly what happened. The game was almost over in the first inning, and everybody they had to do as much as humanly possible to try to fight back into that game. But you put up a 6 spot, Garrett Cole 6 spot at home against the Mariners. It's unacceptable. It really is. It's unacceptable.
The trade deadline, I guess, because we're talking about the Mariners here, so we'll stay on that for a second. Are you starting to get...
For a second, then we'll get to the trade deadline because it's fun.
Overall, like, I'm very excited about this trade deadline. But, like, it's another series lost to a competitive team in the American League. And that doesn't make me feel good. It's just like how this team has played against the elite competition in the American League, which is few and far between because there's so many garbage teams across, especially the other divisions, that the Yankees were mopping the floor with earlier in the year. Obviously, they haven't played a lot of AL East teams recently. They haven't played Tampa or Toronto, I think, since like the middle of June. So, and those are the other 2 best teams in your own division. But, like, are you starting to get worried about losing these series to Houston, losing these series to Seattle? Seattle is taking a series from you at Yankee Stadium?
I mean, I certainly don't like it. And when you look at what today happened, the way that today went down, you have an opportunity to win that series, right? Because Garrett Cole's on the mound. But the reason he's supposed to be this guy that you can rely upon as a stopper, or just as a definite quality start. I mean, I almost expect a quality start out of him every single time, right? Like that's the level of caliber he is. So it's disappointing that he laid an egg, but the team itself, I mean, yeah, it's not good that they're not getting these results, but it kind of, as Aaron Boone says, like it's going to be between the lines in the playoffs. They got time to figure it out, and they have enough of a cushion to figure these things out right now. So I'm not certainly at any level of panic by any means. I think they have time, and they have the opportunity to fix a lot of things and to figure out how they can get this. They need a mean streak. They need that mean streak getting back a little bit. And when they're playing these good teams, they need to be able to to take it to them and win these series. So
Logan made this point before we were recording, that it's not a question of what is Garrett Cole's ceiling recently. Like, we all know he can still go out there on any given day and shove for 7 or 8 innings. If we want to call it post-sticky stuff, because that's what everyone points to, is the post sticky stuff numbers, but it's the inconsistency since the sticky stuff that is the most concerning part.
Yeah, it's not the ceiling; it's the floor. How bad can the floor? How bad can the bad be? That's you don't want to hear. You don't want to have that conversation about your ace. How bad is the bad? Your ace should be battling through the problems. I mean, and not giving up 6 spots. Like, he battled through the rest of the game, and that's okay. But you ruined it for me in the first inning. You know what I mean? Like, the point is over at that. Right then, it's done because you essentially took yourself. You got your team out of the game in the first inning. So how deep is the floor? We've seen the floor on him be very bad. This was, similar to that Detroit game. I mean, he didn't get yanked, but the amount of home runs that are flying out of the park in the first inning, you can't get it out. You look lost. Then all of a sudden you figure it out. You cannot have these meltdowns in these moments. You just can't. Because when are they going to happen next? They're going to happen in the playoffs. They've kind of already at some point.
Yes showed the graphic, like his recent numbers with Trevino, recent numbers with Higgy, and they were both bad. It's like, are we still going to this catcher thing? Like, we're still trying to figure out the right catcher for Cole. Like, how about looking in the mirror? How about, what is the common denominator? When Cole's throwing to Higgy and Cole's throwing to Trevino, who's the common denominator in those equations? Oh, it's Garrett Cole.
It's the ball. It's the ball.
It's the ball. It's the no sticky stuff. Let's blame the umpires.
Yeah. No, it's Garrett Cole. It's between the ears, and that's the thing. You mentioned it. Like, I don't want to see him lost. I want to see a newfound confidence on him. I want to see a fight. I want to see that mean streak. I want to see some of the emotional piece of this that gets him through. I don't want to see a lost face on my ace pitcher that we have paid millions and millions of dollars to be that guy. He needs to be a rock.
Last episode or 2 episodes ago, you called it a slump. The Yankees are now 18-18 in the last 36 games. 500 baseball for a pretty extended period. 36 games is not a tiny sample size.
It's not a tiny sample size. You go back to all the other teams that have done very well, and they run into streaks like this. So again, I think what they did, and we're about to talk about the trade deadline because it was extremely active, and I think they certainly plugged or got better. So we have to see how this team plays out and comes back. But they got to start playing good baseball and start winning series again.
Yeah, the trade deadline. We called it Brian Cashman's most important trade deadline of his career. You've got a team that was at one point on pace for the best record in baseball history, clearly a World Series contender. You have to nail this trade deadline and make it so you can make a deep October run. So we're calling this the nut up moment of the week is the trade deadline for Brian Cashman. Manscaped's bringing it back. They were on hiatus for like 6 weeks or so, but they're back. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to get through those hot summer days. Manscaped, Scott, has dubbed it Smooth Sack Summer. Okay? Smooth Sack Summer.
Yes.
If you order the Performance Package, you get the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. I love this thing. It's awesome. I actually just trimmed my beard up with it. Okay? It's not just for down below. You can use it on your face, guys. It's got cutting edge.
One at a time. It needs to be unique.
It needs to be cleaned.
It needs to be unique.
It needs to be sanitized, all of that, but it is versatile trimmer. It's got cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, multifunction on-off switch so you can lock it if you're putting it in a travel bag. That's also handy. Chargeable battery, 4000K LED spotlight so you can get all those hard-to-reach places, and it is waterproof so you can take it into the shower with you, which is pretty awesome. You also get a Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. Have you ever tried to pluck your nose hairs?
Oh yeah, see, this is gonna get bad. I'm a masochist I will yank them out myself.
That's what I mean.
If I see something, I'll just
little tweezer,
I'll rip it off.
Finger action. Yeah, that shit hurts.
Yeah. As you get older, they start getting a little bit more stray. You gotta make sure those things are combated.
Yeah, and if you're plucking out your nose hairs, your eyes are gonna water up. You're gonna be sneezing up a storm, and it's freaking painful. Well, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer takes care of that. You also get the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner. They're also throwing in 2 free gifts: performance boxer briefs and a travel bag to hold all of that stuff. Show support to Manscaped because Manscaped has showed support to us. Thank you to everyone who purchased the last time around. If you guys are out there questioning if you should be trying Manscaped, all of us on the show have tried Manscaped. It's really great products. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with our code Bronx21. All right. The trade deadline.
Smooth sack.
Smooth sack summer, baby. Smooth sack trade deadline. Nut up moments. Obviously, the big trade is Frankie Montas and Lou Trevino. That was the headlining trade.
Benintendi, let's not forget Benintendi part of this. I know it happened earlier, but it's still a big part of this.
Yes, but everyone was eyeing a call it 1A to Garrett Cole that the Yankees could add to this rotation because the rotation was in serious dire straits for a little while there. And Montas is that guy. And they got him for not giving up any of their top prospects. And I think that is what made this a home run trade in a lot of people's minds. You give up Sears, Waldichuk, Medina, and Bowman. None of those guys are named Volpe, Dominguez, or Peraza. Okay? And that was the important part.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, the fact that he got through the entire trade deadline, and you know, we'll talk about what could have happened and what didn't happen, but it's very possible, it's very probable that a lot of those names, at least one or two of them, were included on other possible trades. So I do think he put them out there. But to get Montas in the way that they did, you know, it's big kudos to Brian Cashman. He was extremely active. He went after. It seemed like they had their eyes set on Montas after Castillo was taken, and they got their guy. So, you know, I'm glad that they did this because it does bolster he's got a year and a half control end of this year and another year. So he's on the team next year as, you know, Jameson Taillon is possibly leaving. And then, you know, obviously the other starter that we traded away is no longer here too. So they need some arms for next year too. And that's a very Cashman-like move.
Yeah, because Rodon was also the other guy that the Yankees were in on, but he could be a free agent at the end of this season. So I think it's just if they were picking one for what they prefer to acquire, it's the controllable guy. Montas, 29 years old. He's got another year and a half of team control. He was 6th in Cy Young votes last year, and he's having a really good season this year. He's got a 3.36 FIP, a 3.18 ERA. Did you know? So as I was reading through his history in the notes, I did not remember he got suspended for PEDs back in 2019.
Yeah, I definitely didn't remember that. But it's part of his history. I'm glad he's shown that he can pitch after PEDs, so that's positive.
I mean, his 2019 season was pretty damn good, and then 2020 wasn't so good, but he's been very good and very durable the last 2 years. He made 32 starts in 2021.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that's huge too, because obviously we want these guys setting up for October postseason play, so need them to get through be able to prove that they can get through. I don't know how many. We're not looking at innings limits. We're not looking at anything. This is a guy that you can run out there and pitch every 5 days. So that's an important piece of being a top line guy.
It'll be interesting because he's going to get activated over the weekend. I think he's going to be starting on Sunday. It'll be interesting who they option at that point because they're going to have to clear a roster spot for him. Marinaccio and Loaisiga still have options left. Obviously, Abreu could be DFA'd. There's also a question if Peralta does have an option left, but he might be past the amount of major league time where he would have to accept that option, which I don't even know if the Yankees would even consider optioning him. He's been a valuable piece of that bullpen. You would think it would be Marinaccio or Loaisiga to be optioned down, and then you're kind of just playing musical chairs with the bullpen for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I don't expect Peralta. I feel like that's playing with fire. He's definitely an integral piece to this team. Marinaccio makes a lot of sense, but he's also been pitching very well too. So they have. I can't see Loaisiga. Loaisiga is seemingly back on the good graces on the way up. I think optioning him would be a mistake. So Abreu DFA is a real possibility, even though they love his stuff. He still has control issues, and you can't rely on a guy like that. What about a guy like Trevino? I know that he came, or Trevino came over. It'll be interesting how they use him. Part of this trade, his splits are very much what the Yankees look for. Yeah.
So my dad, old school guy, and I was texting back and forth with him. about the trade because he doesn't really know much about some of these other players. So he's asking, what are these guys' ERAs, right? Like he wanted the resume. Tell me the ERA. Right. Tell me how old are they? What's their ERA? And so I told him Trevino's ERA 6.47. What?
Conversation.
What? What are they doing? What are these bozos doing? Try explaining FIP and ground ball percentage to my dad. He's not having it.
Ground ball percentage, you can get your head around.
Yeah.
Anything with an acronym, don't even bother. But
like,
if there's a percentage with an actual detailed description within the name, you can handle it.
I said, Dad, his advanced metrics are pretty positive. He said, I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, shut up, nerd.
but in all seriousness, Trevino could be good. 52.6% ground ball percentage is good. If you keep the ball on the ground, good things will happen. He does have a 6.47 ERA, but a 3.84 FIP. Those two things do not one of these things is not like the other, right? Like one of these has to give. You'd lean towards the FIP being the more true indicator of his actual pitching performance. And so if he's throwing to a 52% ground ball percentage backed by a, I think, good Yankees infield defense, I think he could be a valuable piece.
He definitely could. I mean, anybody who keeps the ball on the ground like that is good in my book. So, it's a matter of if he doesn't get himself in trouble. He's got that hard sinker. We all know that Blake loves that sinker, that down action. So, whether it's a two-seamer or a sinker, I want to see him more just to make that decision. But he's got 18 pitches. It looks like he's got a lot. He's got the kitchen sink. He's got a lot of things to throw at people. So I like the chances of Matt Blake kind of reining him in as he has, and he's proven to do this with guys like this. So he's 30 years old. He's not a young pup by any means, but he's a control guy. This is another very, very Cashman-like move where you're going out and adding a quality reliever that's part of a deal. I mean, this is how, you're looking at Peralta also. Like, there are similarities in some of these moves.
What percentage of you, when you see this trade, Yankees acquiring a number one pitcher from Oakland, what percentage of you had SG flashbacks?
PTSD?
Yeah.
I don't have PTSD because I still think it was a good trade, even though however much like grief that guy causes me. There's still, it was a good trade. It was the right move. So does Frankie Montas, hopefully the common sense department knocked on people's door around him and was like, how does this guy, can he handle the media? Can he handle the pressure? Can he handle the spotlight? What kind of guy are we getting over here? I hope the common sense department did their due diligence, went around in some trench coats with some paper and wrote some notes. Took some good notes on this guy.
Waldichuk has been on this show. He was on the show during spring training, and he was traded out. So sorry to see friend of the pod Waldichuk go. We talked to Kaprelian way back, right?
Yeah, I think so. We had a streak. We had a streak going for a while where every single person that had come on our show was traded.
Blake Rutherford, Kaprelian.
Yep. Ref Snyder.
There was a couple others too that came on and very soon after got shipped out.
What's his face? Ben Heller.
It's like the Madden curse.
Yeah, Ben Heller gone.
We did not talk.
I mean, Logan just put in the notes. There's only 4 players left from 2017, which is crazy when you think about that. When we think about what that team was supposed to be, and how much of a formidable core that was supposed to be, and they're all gone. They're all gone before. I mean, you think back. It's so funny how things change so fast because. I think a lot of people thought the same way about the Cubs when they won in 2016. You're like, damn, this team has a nucleus that could be around for a long time. And it just didn't happen. It just doesn't happen the way that you think it's going to. So
look at the Nationals.
That's why this was so important. You got to take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you in this moment.
Look at the Nationals. 2019 World
the
Series
Nationals
winners.
Shell.
There's no one there anymore. So, we didn't talk to Jordan Montgomery, but he was traded. And that was the big surprise of the trade deadline. It came like right before 6 p.m. trade deadline. And if this had happened at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, even, we're all sitting there saying, okay, this is a pre move for another move to bring in a starting pitcher. But obviously, the news came through like right at 6 p.m. And you're like, well, that's it then. The Yankees traded away Jordan Montgomery, a pretty useful member of the starting rotation, especially right now when Severino's out, Taillon's been struggling so much, and you just need innings for Harrison Bader, who is injured currently. Yes, very good defensive center fielder, projects maybe even to be the best defensive center fielder in baseball, but he's currently injured, and you're adding another outfielder to this roster for getting rid of Jordan Montgomery. It seemed like a really weird move.
It was a weird move. It's still a weird move when you think about it. So I was listening to Brian Cashman's press conference after the deadline, and obviously this was one of those things that was kind of brought up, and it does. They were definitely in on a lot of guys, and you know, if this was one of those things where they had done this, the move was made, and then something did, like the Pablo
Another outfielder.
Lopez.
Where did you have Gallo going again? And apparently the Brewers were in on Joey Gallo. I don't know why anyone was in on Joey Gallo, but apparently the Brewers are one of the teams calling about Gallo. Yeah. You know, change of scenery, right? How many times did they talk about the change of scenery? Like, I'm sorry, a flight across the country, growing a beard, because you know that's the first thing Joey Gallo is going to do. He's like, not on the Yankees anymore, got to grow some facial hair, and most likely changing his number away from the cursed number 13 is not going to fix his broken ass swing. Oh, we're talking about starting him? Uh, Aaron Hicks should not be starting a playoff game either. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, starting him. I mean, yeah. Yes, your argument is the only argument here is that Montgomery likely was not getting a playoff start anyway. So really you're sacrificing some regular season innings which could be filled with all of those guys you just mentioned. But Montgomery isn't that far away from starting a playoff game. we don't know what Severino's status is going to be when he comes back. Okay. And he was transferred to the 60-day IL. So I think his timetable is a little bit longer than we initially thought. Okay. So we're talking about getting Severino back sometime in September, right? And then he's going to ramp up for the postseason. Okay. Five. That's fine. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. But you're banking on him coming back and being good and getting a playoff start. Obviously, we all know Cole's getting a start and Montes is getting a start. And with the way the season has gone, Nestor Cortez clearly has earned a playoff start. But that's the four, right? If something happens to any of those four guys, Montgomery would have been next in line. So meaning plays the outfield, meaning plays the maybe his injury is worse than we thought. Same amount of control. But what do you value more? A starting pitch, even call it even a number four or number five, but a good number four or five. Yeah, or a fourth outfield. Like, come on, the value is clearly on the pitching side. Like, you cannot tell me that the whatever upgrade value wise Bader provides over Locastro is not greater than the difference between Domingo Herman or Clark Schmidt and Jordan Montgomery. I know you say you would rather watch Clark Schmidt, but Jordan Montgomery. Okay, fine, but that's but you can't. But like even you, I don't think would say like that Jordan Montgomery is less valuable for the rest of this season than Clark Schmidt to the Yankees. Then that's a real problem. If that's the case, and they thought they had another deal on the table and it didn't, yeah, I don't get how this makes sense for this roster. That's the thing. That's the head scratching thing. If they thought they had another deal on the table that never came through, you can't let this happen. You cannot give up Jordan Montgomery for the next 2 months and a guy who would be next in line for a playoff start for a fifth or sixth defensive outfielder. You just can't. You can't. Now, I understand all of these deals maybe take days, hours, days to discuss, right? But this deal happened at the end of the deadline. Okay, so even let's just say that it was agreed upon 3 hours earlier than it was reported. It's not like it happened on Sunday or Monday, a day or two before the deadline, which would have given Cashman and his team a day to go out and make secure that other trade for whoever they were talking to. This happened towards the end of the deadline. So if it gets towards the end of the deadline and you don't have something else lined up, or if you're not near 100% sure about something else lined up with a different team, then I don't see how you pull the trigger on this Montgomery trade. Unless like you have some like magic ball and you know his elbow is going to just explode in 2 days. How much did that Montgomery trade sour the entire deadline for you? Because we didn't even mention Scott Efros. They got Scott Efros, whose advanced numbers are extremely good, and yeah, like really intriguing bullpen arm with all of the control. 5.5 years of team control left. Like this is a bullpen arm that we're going to see for the Yankees for a long time. Wesneski, who was the Yankees' 7 prospect. Some people in the Major League Scouts ranked him as high or even higher than Waldichuk. So not a slouch prospect, but you're getting a really good. Yeah. Yep. So how much did the Monty trade sour, if at all? But I don't think any of us would have guessed that they would be removing one of the starting pitchers from the rotation at this trade deadline. So to sum up everything, the deadline, they are plus Montes, plus Trevino, plus Benintendi, obviously, plus Efros, and plus Bader, but not really. I'm not even going to say plus Bader right now because he's not on the roster right now. And they are minus Gallo, minus Montgomery. Obviously, they've upgraded the roster. Like, no one can sit here and say that the roster is not better today than it was 3 days ago. But like, so grade the deadline. Hey, you stole that from me. You stole that from. That's my Tyler Wade line. If the Monty trade didn't happen, just not that trade didn't happen, would it be an A plus for you? Well, I'm just trying to ask if the Montgomery trade lowered it at all. It lowered it for me a little bit. No, you have to do it now. You have to do it now because we're not. It's not TBD. Like, okay, if all of these prospects they traded away turns into Hall of Famers, then guess what? F. But like, that's not what we're doing. We're talking about right now. Okay, I guess for me it would have been an A, and then now I'm saying it's an A minus. But Schmidt's currently not on the roster, so but yeah, yeah. When Montes comes back, what do you think of all the reports? What do you think about all the reports that the Yankees were fielding calls on Gleyber Torres? It doesn't mean they were shopping Gleyber Torres, but teams were calling up asking about him. I would have been shocked if he was traded. I would have been absolutely shocked if he. So yeah, he was in the calls about Soto, about Hader, maybe about Lopez. Um, I mean the Soto move, obviously to San Diego, biggest move of the deadline around baseball. Um, I just never saw it being realistic for the Yankees. Like you'd have maybe had to have given up Glaber plus your top prospects. It's like, yeah, obviously adding Soto to the roster is great, but if you're taking away your starting second baseman, like you're taking two steps forward, one step back. It's like, okay, like I just didn't see it as something that was ever realistic. Well, the Bader trade wouldn't have happened. No, they wouldn't have traded for Benintendi if they traded for Soto. In a couple years, you got a couple years though of team control. Um, Joey Gallo, the Dodgers actually took all of his salary, which is just amazing. And the Yankees got like a prospect for him. Is it a great prospect? Who knows? He's he's young. He was the number 15 prospect for the Dodgers. He was in Double A. It's going to be the number 10 prospect for the Yankees. But like they actually got they actually got someone to take his salary and give you something back for him, which is more than I thought. And Joey Gallo, he did an interview with NJ.com recently, and it is a depressing read. Um, I will be NJ.com. Joey, are you ready for this trade deadline to be over? Have you been living in Manhattan? What's it been like for you when Yankees fans notice you in the streets? Are they rough on you away from the ballpark too? Then the questioner actually said back, "That's sad." No shit, it's sad. If Joey Gallo had punched NJ.com in the face right then and there, you know what? It would have been deserved. Yeah, it's sad, buddy. I know. Yeah. So obviously he's been torturing himself about it. Like Boone even had some quotes about it. Other teammates have talked about it, like how he was doing all the right things. They were pulling for him. It just never happened for him. There was a lot in the article, and I read through it, and like that part, like in all seriousness, I do feel bad for Joey Gallo in that moment, right? Like if he genuinely does not want to show his face out in public because he's so embarrassed by his play, then yeah, like that sucks, dude. But then he's going on talking about how it's like, well, I was never a high average hitter anyway, and I'm never gonna be a high average hitter, and maybe Yankees fans just like couldn't get used to that. They were fine with it in Texas. It's like, dude, first of all, First of all, it was Texas. Second of all, you didn't sniff your numbers from Texas. If you had duplicated your numbers from Texas in New York, Yankees fans would have been fine with it because we're all pretty smart baseball fans and we knew what we were acquiring when we acquired you. But you were dog shit, buddy. You weren't even half as good as you were in Texas. What was his final OBP with the Yankees? 291 on base percentage with the Yankees. Okay, 291, a 660 OPS, and he was an 833 OPS with Texas. And if you just look at like recent years in Texas, which is when he, um, you know, when we're looking more at like what thought we were acquiring, like his on base percentage was in the mid to high 300s, and he was a 290 OBP with the Yankees. Like you weren't even close. It's a full season of baseball. Yeah, he also said like, oh well, I could never adjust. I wasn't able to adjust to not playing every day. That was pretty recent. You didn't play every day. The last bit on the trade deadline is that the estimated tax payroll will be about the same for the Yankees, right around 263 or 264 million before and after the deadline. So this calls into question: was the Jordan Montgomery trade also about a salary dump? How much was Jordan Montgomery making this year? So about 3 million for the rest of the season, and obviously Bader's not making that, right? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. If Bader and Monty were making about similar salaries, then you're right. It was not a salary dump. I was trying to stir up some shit. I was going for it. Yeah, that's why I was listening to Cashman's press conference. Yes was playing it right before yesterday's game, and he was talking about like the first question was about the Montgomery trade because that was the most surprising one, and it kind of sounded like he was like he was like convincing himself and the media as to why this trade made sense. Like I don't know. I would honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if after the season or sometime in the future we find out that there was another deal on the table for a starting pitcher that fell through at the last minute. Ilya just put something in our chat, and I did catch this too in that press conference. Cashman actually responded to a reporter question and said the Cardinals needed a pitcher. And and so like I know what he was saying. It's like it's not that oh we were helping the Cardinals out. It's like the Cardinals were interested in Montgomery because they needed a pitcher, and we need. And then he was like, and we needed outfield. But like you didn't need outfield. You didn't need outfield as much as the Cardinals needed a pitcher, right? Like so. So what you're saying is 7 year, $77 million extension for Bader coming in. Aaron Hicks 2.0. Is this Aaron Hicks 2.0? Is he going to take the reins from Aaron Hicks? Yeah. Well, guess what? Aaron Hicks is controlled for longer than Bader. He's been okay. He was hot for a little while. And he's been fine. He's been fine. Like that's why I was saying. Starting center fielder next year. Yeah, that would surprise me. I mean, it's hard to say, right? Like we haven't seen him play, but like I, the fact that we've spent the majority of this show talking about this trade, like that goes to show you, like it was the big head scratcher of the deadline. Like we should be gushing over the Montes trade and the Efros trade and the Benintendi trade. I want to just quickly touch on a couple more things from the Seattle series. So in Tuesday's loss, there was another attempted double steal attempt by this time by Judge and LeMahieu, and uh, D- D- DJ left too early, pitcher stepped off, got him, and it killed an inning. So that makes two double steals that killed rallies in the past week. I'm getting a little sick of it. Okay, I understand more aggressive. The team is better base running this year than previous years, but aggressive to be aggressive is stupidity, right? Like, be smart about your aggressiveness. Again, another aggressive base running play in the first inning or the second inning of today's game. Yes, I know the Yankees were down big, but they send IKF trying to score on a Higgy double, and you got Rizzo coming up next, and it was going to be like a bang bang play, and you're down big in the game. If that's a one-run game, fine, I get it. Make Seattle make a throw. But when you're down big, one extra run is not as important as keeping a potential big rally alive. So aggressive base running is good, but I would like to see more smart aggressive base running. Yeah, yeah, he's exactly. So I don't know. It was definitely a bit of a frustrating series against Seattle. We already talked about Cole. That was the most frustrating part. Herman pitched all right. Tyon, another weird start from Tyon, right? 2 hits allowed. No, they both left the park. Yeah. Anything else you want to? Yeah, blank stare. Just blank stare. It's like I part of me thinks he's out there like something's wrong. Like something's wrong. It's not my fault. Something's wrong in the air. Yeah. Anything else you want to hit on? All right. Hey, throw it towards my back, guys. All right, that's gonna wrap up today's show. Overall, Scott, you gave him an A at the deadline. I'm giving them an A minus at the deadline. I think for me, the Montgomery trade does bring it down a little bit, just because I really don't get it. We're gonna Yeah. Do you know what I was thinking about? Peraza might have diminished value because of Volpe. Where where teams, because Cashman was trying to center the Castillo package around Peraza, and I'm sure he was trying to center other packages for packages around Peraza, and teams are sitting there saying, "No, we don't. We know you don't care about giving up Peraza because you've got Volpe." So if Peraza was their top prospect or their only shortstop prospect, like, it's just psychologically, this might have some impact on how deals are not getting done. Yeah. We're going to see Montgomery pitch against the Yankees over the weekend. That'll be fun. And then Montes should be making his debut on Sunday for the Yanks. So it'll be a adventurous weekend in Seattle. Scott and I, you will be back. You and I will be back recording for the Jeter documentary Friday morning. So that'll be out Friday afternoon. Hopefully, everyone is enjoying that along with us. And then we'll be back recording again after the St. Louis series. Anything else you want to hit?